This may not be the best timing exactly, but I'm finally learning to be a little bit of a jerk. This may sound like a little bit of an odd revelation to be bringing out right now, but I grew up as a total people pleaser. This comes from my family life, the church that I was raised in. So much of it, I was basically born to be a little bit of a doormat. And I don't want to be a doormat anymore. For one, it's not fun to get walked all over. For two, it's not healthy. And for three, I'm finally developing a little bit of a sense of self-respect. And that's a good thing. So what do I mean when I say a jerk? Wait, I'm looking at myself, not the camera. What do I mean when I say a jerk? And that this isn't necessarily the best time in my life for this? Maybe jerk is a little bit too strong of a word, but like the willingness to be an encumbrance to other people in the midst of just daily life. I've spent so much of my life putting in all the effort to make sure that I'm not in anyone's way, that I'm not causing any trouble, just kind of diminishing myself. And to some degree, that's fine. That's just being polite, right? Like you want to make sure that you're not being a jerk, actually actively, like taking up and wasting other people's time and space, but not at the expense of asserting one's own right to exist. Speaking of right to exist, those pants have no right to exist anymore. They're disgusting. I should have swapped them out way earlier than I am. Merci encore. There's a story behind all this, of course, and it's one that I don't know how exactly you're going to take, but just because in the past I wouldn't have thought this was a good thing. You know the folding seats on the metro? When you're in the center section, normally when it's overfull or there's somebody who's maybe infirm, older, needs a little bit of extra help, you're supposed to give them up. And normally I do. I just gave up my seat 10 minutes ago to an older lady who obviously needed it. What you might notice when you end up in a situation where there's just a crap ton of people in the metro and you find yourself in one of those seats and needing to step it up for a second, like just stand up and get out of the way, is that you don't actually save that much space. Your feet stay in the same place and your knees go from being at a 90-degree angle to a little bit slightly back. And you can lean away a little bit. It saves a little bit of space, but that's the setup for what happened. Which is why it's a really good thing that I'm having lunch with Lindsey today, because she knows everything there is to know about being a jerk. And I realize that you might be thinking, springing the fact on a friend that they're an expert in jerkery is in and of itself a top-level jerk move. You know, the kind of jerk move that somebody like Paul might pull. Which brings us to today's sponsor, and the exact person that might be able to help us better understand these social dynamics. BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a platform that connects you to a variety of providers when it comes to mental health, which can be a very helpful thing when it comes to social situations and you're not exactly sure how to behave. Behavioral issues might be at the core of the story today. When it comes to finding a therapist, what I like about BetterHelp is that they allow you to connect with multiple, like one after the other, until you find the one that fits you and works for your needs, which is great because it can be really hard to find somebody, and they don't penalize you for it all if you have to switch around a few times. If you've been watching my channel for any period of time now, you've seen how much I've grown as a person, and so much of that is thanks to therapy, which was why I'm such a huge fan of BetterHelp as a platform, but also just therapy as a whole. Life-changing. My last time to therapy, my therapist paid me the compliment of saying that I was very devoted to the process, that I put a lot of work in, which is very nice, and I'm very appreciative that BetterHelp is devoted to helping my channel. If you'd like to get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, you can use my link, betterhelp.com/jswanson. There's a QR code for you to use as well, and obviously, just as a whole, huge fan of therapy. If you're thinking about doing it, you deserve it. I think we all do. And then it helps to make up for the fact that everyone thinks I'm crazy talking to myself right now because nobody can see the camera, but that, that's just a side note. So anyways, I was on the metro and it was one of those situations where everything was just over-flooded, right? Just so many people that got in. And there wasn't initially. I sat down on one of those folding chairs. I had a bunch of stuff and I had Cooper and it was just a lot. So I sat down with him and it was fine. And then eventually it did get pretty crowded, but I mean, not to the point that I really felt like I needed to stand up, but I also made the conscious decision not to stand up because I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I have a dog, all this stuff. And honestly, if I stand up, my elbows are going to take up even more space than if I'm sitting down near everybody's knees. It seemed to fit pretty well. Anyway, this lady came over and in a very, very French way, just inserted herself. Like she plowed through 3 people just to come over and say, I think we're standing now, in like a really rude way. And honestly, if she'd asked me politely, I would have said okay, like I probably would have gotten up, but because I'd already decided, I'm gonna sit. Like I know it's probably annoying a couple people around me, and because she asked so impolitely, I kind of just told her off. I was like, nah, I'm gonna stay here, thank you very much. Which made for a little bit of an awkward moment, but honestly, I was kind of proud of myself. And this is where I think we might divert. I think I'm gonna lose some people here when I say that, but let me explain. The thing is, I can justify my actions in any way that I want to, as far as saying like she was rude or I kind of made my own decision. I didn't really need to do it, but the reality is, yeah, I could have stood up. And in general politeness, I would stand up like I did earlier today. Or was that yesterday now? That was yesterday now. We're on the next day, by the way. It's Friday. But I just kind of opted to be selfish. And the reason that I actually think this is a big move for me is because in the past, doing something like that would have been just saying no to some lady asking, rudely or not, for something that I could have done to help her. Saying no in that situation, or just choosing to do what I wanted to do over what was expected of me, would have left me burning with shame for hours, if not days after. Like telling you this story right now, past Jay, years ago Jay, pre-therapy Jay, would have been dying. Like I wouldn't be able to share this story with you because I would have been so ashamed of my behavior. And so being able to do that, make a decision that was a little bit selfish in my own interest, and then be okay with it and just move on with my day, that's growth. Maybe not like the most idealized version of measuring growth, but still, good sign. Also, I'm not alone on this trip. It's just I keep finding myself alone for moments. I found a pub with open tables. Now I'm having to fight to hold the fort down until everybody else shows up. There's like 10 people coming, and we're in London for Paul's show. You get it. You know what's going on. I'm gonna go back to these chips now, these fries, because they're actually really good. What if this was all just an elaborate ruse to get me to end up in London by myself, just hanging out in some part of the city I've never been before? I was on the train with Paul. His daughter actually got me prepared. I forgot that it was St. Patrick's Day. I've got a little St. Patty's Day tattoo as applied by a 4-year-old, and she actually did a really good job. To be fair, her mom might have helped a little bit, but I'm really always just the fastest moving, aren't I? Oh well, more fries for me. This is just a side note, but I've been thinking about this when I travel a lot lately, how ever since I was a kid, my family actually would make fun of me because I remembered places not based on what we did or what we saw so much as the food. Like I was always like, oh my gosh, that was so good, and that was so good, and that's just kind of how I've always traveled. It's how I see it, and it's not really changed at all. Like, it's been really fun to come up to Hackney for the first time. I mean, I've been to Hackney, but I've never spent time in Hackney. I just love the way that they reclaim spaces, and I don't know, there's a cool vibe here, and I definitely am enjoying what I'm finding to eat so far this morning, that's for sure. I wish we had food markets like this in Paris, like where people were making every kind of food you could want. This is the kind of stuff that makes it worth coming north. So clearly I'm not advocating for actually like being a jerk. What I'm trying to express is this sense of self that's developed, which is really good, and the right to just, I take up space, and it's okay, and we're gonna make mistakes, and I think that's more what's the issue. But what's funny about it is that it's probably not the best time in my life to do that, because people do recognize me from time to time, and maybe having one of those moments where I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna be myself today in public. It's not the best thing. So what I would advocate for is continuing to be kind and polite, which is one of the reasons I love coming to the UK so much, is because people are so darn nice and polite. And when compared to Parisians, at least, this city is a bundle of sunshine and joy, and I'm really grateful for that. And honestly, it's just so nice to have chatty, friendly conversations that aren't stressy or just looking for a fight. And Paris does that to you sometimes. But the benefit of that is Paris will absolutely help you grow a spine if you happen to be missing one. And I think I grew up missing one. Thanks to Lindsey Watts, today's Patron producer, and all my patrons for making it possible to do this. Like, it makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this growth, change, development, becoming just a different person. And it's pretty cool that I get the opportunity to share all of this, that I get to share my life, and that ultimately is so much of what this channel has been over the last almost 9 years. It's pretty wild if you go back to this daily vlogging stuff. Don't go any farther back than that. I mean, yeah, if you want to see how far I've come in every sense, then absolutely go back, check that out. But especially for the patrons that have been here this entire time, and to everybody who was a patron in the past and all the active patrons that you're seeing on screen right now, thank you. Like, without you, none of this would be possible. You make all the difference. I think that might be the city cruise boat that Paul and family are on. I have a thing tonight, but I want to make sure to hang out with them a little bit, so I should probably go.